Andres, I don't know where your wife is, but can we give you a round of applause, Andres Quintero, and to opening up your home. It's beautiful. I actually wanted to stay in this room and play a little bit, all the beautiful toys. What I thought I would do is just take a minute to talk about what the county does, a minute about why I decided to run, and some ideas that I have, and then I just wanted to have a conversation. I want to hear what's on all of your minds. So first, let me echo the thanks of taking time away from family and other activities and cleaning the garage and the yard and all those things to be here today. And then, and let me just start by saying a little bit about the county. The county is a really important level of government here, and most people don't know what the County Board of Supervisors does. As Andres can tell you, as having worked there for a while, and now in your school board, your capacity as a member of the school board in Alum Rock, I'm sure you could talk a little bit about this, but the county really does 5 big things. It manages the safety net for health and human services in the county. So that's Valley Medical Center and a number of the clinics that you see, and public health. So they do things like education around tuberculosis and that kind of activity, and also mental health. And all of that's under one big umbrella in the health and human services. The second thing it does is manages a lot of the criminal justice system here, the county jails, the courts, the district attorney, the crime lab, and sheriffs for the unincorporated areas. And then another big body of work is family services, and that's foster care and other kinds of services that really help with family intervention, child support, all of that kind of work. And then it does roads and airports and all of the infrastructure parts of the county. And then there's this bucket of miscellaneous, which is really just the running of that big institution, because what many people don't know is the county is the second largest employer in the county at a little over 15,000 employees. And it's got a $4.6 billion budget, which is a lot of our community assets being spent on our behalf. And when I think about the county, a lot of people will refer to it as a safety net, and I would say that's true, but it's also very foundational to the entire function of our community. Now, why would I decide to run? So I served on the city council for 8 years in San Jose. I represented the downtown. I was vice mayor also. I also served for 8 years on the Valley Transportation Authority. That's buses, that's light rail, that's some roads, and worked very hard to bring BART to San Jose, which I'm really excited is happening in my lifetime. And then I ran for mayor, and I was unsuccessful. And the reason I ran for mayor is I really believed that by working with the community, we could make great change. And my experience being a San Jose City Council member is we did things that people told us were not possible. And what kinds of things? Well, for example, we went out to our community and said, let's vote to see if we should add more libraries or revamp our current libraries and our community centers and our fire, and public safety infrastructure. The community worked with us, and the community said yes. So a lot of the new and refurbished buildings you see happened during that time. The second thing is there were hard things that, frankly, lower income neighborhoods were not being paid attention to in my community. And I'll just give you 2 examples. And they seem funny, but they're kind of important. One is that when Highway 87 came through, prior to that, 10th and 11th Street a long time ago were turned to being, two-way or one-way couplets. And the purpose of that was to be able to move people from one side of the city to the other side of the city fast. When Highway 87 was built, everybody said, oh, we'll turn all those streets back. And the neighborhood leaders who were there when those promises were made remembered. And they said, okay, 87's built. We want our streets to be calm again. We don't want downtown to be a thoroughfare. And so what we did is we put a community committee together. My predecessor had tried to do it. His predecessor had tried to do it. But what we did that was a little different is we sat down with the neighborhood and we came up with a plan. And then we used my office budget to hire somebody as a consultant to help us come up with a plan. And we were able to turn, so if you go into downtown now, remember Julian Street used to be one way. You'll see these streets slowing down. You see people investing in their homes, right? Because it's safe to do that. If you go into the Hensley Historic Neighborhood, which is also downtown, you see lots of street investments so that it's making it more walkable. That's the kind of thing that neighbors do when they work together, and frankly when you have a council member who's willing to fight for that. One other I'll give you an example of is, do any of you know where Ann Darling's school is? Okay, so Ann Darling's right at 101 and McKee. And these mothers, mothers are fierce. When they get their mind to something, don't mess with mad moms. That's what I also learned being in office.
That's so true.
Mad moms, don't do it. I got this invitation to go to Ann Darling's school, and they said, we want you to come in the morning and experience our school. And I didn't know exactly what they wanted me to see, but I'm driving up McKee, and I see these two little boys with their backpacks going over the overpass on 101, hitting each other with their backpacks. And they weren't being mean, they were being, boys. I have one. Sorry, gentlemen. Anyway, they were swinging their backpacks, and one hit one and knocked him into the street. And, the cars slowed down, and he jumped back up, but I thought, what a nutty way to get kids from point A to point B. And when I got there, the mother said to me, we have been trying to get the City of San Jose and Caltrans to put railings on this street for years. We've showed them the problem, and all they keep telling us, it's expensive, it's complicated, blah, 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 and we needed Caltrans, and the city doesn't have anything to do with it. So I had the City of San Jose, myself, and these moms meet with Caltrans. And essentially what we told them is, you have two options. You do nothing, right? Or you do something. If you do nothing, here's what we're going to do. First thing we're going to do is we're going to outline chalk children's bodies across the street. We're going to do one a day until you pay attention to us, and we're going to do that in front of the press. Second thing is that moms are going to start laying across the street. And they didn't want moms anywhere near that. They didn't want to see a kid hurt. And frankly, I don't even understand why they didn't do it, because it would have been more expensive for them to pay for the lawsuit of the first kid who got really hurt, although some children have been hurt at minor injuries. So working with Caltrans, and then we all got cooperative because they started to pay attention, and now we have railings over that street. Small things, but they make a big difference in our community, right? Now, when the seat became vacant so suddenly, I will be frank with you that after running for mayor, I thought, oh my God, I'll never do that again. And I think it's a little like having a child. I forgot what it was like to be a candidate. But here's what I knew. $4.6 million, our public safety net, and I have spent the last 4 years since I've been out of office working on health and human services, including on health reform. And one of my accomplishments was making sure that this last fall that we put a measure on the ballot to make sure we could fund health insurance for every child in this community for the next 10 years under the age of 18, whether they are covered by Obamacare or not, which is, a lot of our community is going to miss Obamacare if we're not careful. And I've worked really hard to raise the minimum wage in San Jose, and I want to thank so many of you for your help and your leadership and your support in that effort. And those are our communities. That's who's impacted. And what I was concerned about was, normally when you run for office, you have a year to think about it, maybe 2. You learn, you study, you go to all the meetings, you try to figure out who's what, you go meet all the neighborhood leaders. But the fact of the matter is, we didn't have a year, we didn't have anything more than, frankly, maybe 3 weeks to make a decision. And I knew everybody who was running, and I just thought that I trusted myself to be able to manage large budgets, because at the City of San Jose, I did that, $2 billion, in excess of $2 billion in many years, and to know how to navigate large institutions, because, cities, counties, and school districts, they move because you move them, not because they want to. And I know how to do that, working with the neighborhoods. So that's why I've decided to run. My high priorities are going to be, making sure that as Obamacare comes through, that we still can preserve and protect the infrastructure of the public health system here, which is going to be very important, because a lot of our community will continue to rely on it. The other thing is that we have a level 1 pediatric trauma center there, so if you're in a car accident or your child is hurt, you want to go to Valley Medical Center. Excellent burn unit, an excellent spinal cord unit. So we need to protect that resource, because that's really for everybody here. And then the second thing, obviously, is making sure that we're focused on public safety and crime. When I served on the city council, when I ran actually the first time, I did not get support from any police organization. I think they met me and thought, oh, she's a crazy lefty, I don't know if we can work with her. But here's the fact. The fact is, you represent poor communities. You want a partnership with public safety, and you want it to be meaningful, and you want it to mean something for your neighborhoods. Community policing, making sure people aren't afraid to call the police, making sure people report crimes. Well, since the time I've left office, crime has skyrocketed, graffiti is everywhere. It doesn't feel or look like the San Jose, the trail we were going on, is the safest big city in the country, and really starting to make inroads aggressively into preventing crime. I mean, the place we were in as a community is that we were able to do after-school programming, and we were supporting the gang task force, and we were doing amazing things. And for budget cuts, and I would also say misguided priorities, there were decisions made in the city of San Jose that impacted every single person in this county. Because when one big city cuts its resources, everybody is impacted, not just the city of San Jose. I think, you know, as I'm running, I have the support of every major police organization in the county. And it isn't because they don't know where my politics are, it is because they understand that I understand that the primary purpose of government is the protection of our community. That really is its primary purpose. And if it's not doing that, it can't do anything well. You don't have businesses thrive. Businesses don't go where crime is rampant. They don't do that, right? People don't want to buy houses in places that are unsafe. So, you know, so this is our opportunity as a community to continue, I think,